Alright guys, in today's video we are back with some more very interesting upcoming games that you might definitely not know about. These are new games that are more obscure and that haven't had a proper reveal yet, and some that have also just been revealed. From an all-out brutal FPS, a parkour fighting game, to an open-world mount and blade inspired war game. Before we start, you guys know the drill, make sure you give some support onto this video by liking it, as it truly helps the channel, and let's get into it right away with the first game. First off, we're starting with a game that when I discovered, I immediately partnered with the developer for future showcase, as this two-man studio is working on what looks like to be an amazing and realistic slow-motion FPS. These two guys are one of the best indie developers at the moment to undertake such a game, as they are also the creators of Hong Kong Massacre, an awesome top-down slow-motion shooter which released on Steam in early 2019. What better way to continue onto their strike by going down and making an FPS game on what they already mastered. For now, the unnamed game only has two short gameplay teaser of what's coming, but I've partnered with the developers to showcase more about it very soon, as well as a description of what the game is all about. For now, you can expect some beautiful and awesome action from this. Let me know if you're excited for this one. Next up, we have Scifu. If you've watched the recent PlayStation State of Play event, then yes, you've definitely heard of this upcoming brutal kung fu fighting game from the creators of Absolver, which is another appreciated online fighting game. Scifu though puts all his needs into a single player campaign. After releasing Absolver, the developers chose to build on their own experience, creating exciting and innovative martial arts gameplay, and used everything they learned from their first game to create a third-person action game featuring intense kung fu combat with unprecedented authenticity. Scifu puts you in control of a young kung fu student who has dedicated his very soul to his quest for vengeance. After his family was murdered by a squad of mysterious assassins, the hero has spent the next 8 years of his life preparing his revenge. The day of reckoning has finally come, and he will hunt down the murderers one by one, without letting anyone get in his way. To overcome the odds stacked against him, he will rely on his kung fu skills, and on a magical pendant that revives him upon death. This magic has a very high cost though. The hero gets older every time he comes back to life. How long will you manage to survive before having to start his quest again? Is one life enough to have kung fu? This unique gameplay element will affect everything in the gameplay and the story itself, so be very careful of not dying. Next up, we have Project Exile. Keep in mind the gameplay you're going to be seeing is not in full HD quality but taken from Twitter. Another awesome looking game that doesn't have any description on what the game is going to be about, even though we can kind of see it through its gameplay a little bit. Project Exile will be utilizing destruction, a unique and challenging combat system, and different monsters to die for itself but also come close to a Dark Souls-like game. Project Exile, to my understanding, is being made by one person only and is looking really great, which makes me wonder why it isn't more popular. The fact that the person is only speaking Spanish and showing its new clip in Spanish might be the reason, but I hope it'll get the recognition it truly deserves in the future. You can't let a game like this pass without being noticed. Let me know what you all think of this one. Next up, we have Project Kato. If you've been on the channel recently, of course you've heard of this game. I couldn't not talk about it. Definitely keep in mind that everything you're seeing from this game in this video is 100% gameplay and not cinematic or stuff like that. And oh man, is it looking great. Project Kato takes place in a dystopian cyberpunk open world where machines took over society, making humans into cybernetically modified servants and warriors. Kato, the main character you're playing as, which is looking badass, embarks on a journey to piece together what's left of humanity, while having to learn how to use his newly acquired abilities. But the biggest mistake the machines made, they just created their own worst enemy, Kato himself. In a dystopian cyberpunk colony where the human and machine became the new norm, humanity reached its peak in technology and its biggest low in leadership and political decisions. No one's a leader and no one's here for the people. There's also now the possibility to create independent AI that is is being used in all sectors of day-to-day life, replacing human workers. Each weapon of this main character will have specific abilities that will all feel genuinely different than the other, allowing you to get super creative with it and do some unique moves along with the parkour that's shown. The player will have to unlock each ability using a skill tree. There's going to be of course parkour, gliding, dashing, swimming, some stealth elements, and of course fast-paced combat. All of this will be against a dangerous new AI that humans have created. Next up we have Undefeated, in which a solo developer is working to prove that theory of a new Superman game being impossible to make wrong with this upcoming open-world fighting game. It isn't directly a Superman game, but shares a number of features with the powerful hero. Undefeated will also be the debut title by the Japanese developer who goes by UmaHero16 on Twitter and Undefeated Games on Steam. Undefeated is a free-to-play title that initially released in 2019 as some kind of small demo to show what the developer was capable of doing, and since then the game kept receiving massively positive feedback, saying he could actually make somewhat of a Superman game, but not with the Superman name in it of course, and not the character itself, to risk getting sued. The character, definitely not Clark Kent, has a lot of similar powers to Superman itself, like the ability to fly anywhere and destroy buildings, eat vision in the form of lasers, and even goes to the Dragon Ball manga with a Kamehameha-like ability. In Undefeated you will be able to fly around cities and forests and get onto difficult combat with bosses and all kinds of enemies. Let me know if you're excited for this one. There's no release date for this full Undefeated game right now. Next up we have Plan 8. Plan 8 is an upcoming open-world exosuit shooter coming from the creators of the upcoming Crimson Desert, which is also looking absolutely amazing. Plan 8 is the first shooter introduced by Pearl Abyss and combines open-world single-player and MMO elements with action-packed gameplay and realistic graphics that players expect within the shooter genre. Pearl Abyss is really striving to create a next-generation shooter with this one that combines the best element of the open-world genre to create an entirely new experience unlike any other shooter on the market. The game will feature a vast open world, and profound worldview will be important to Plan 8. Though Pearl Abyss describes Plan 8 as a shooter, it is difficult to confine the game to a single genre. The exosuits in the game allow players to exercise superhuman power, granting wearers extraordinary strength and capabilities. Every exosuit has its own special abilities. When an exosuit meets another on the battlefield, they can counter each other depending on their compatibility. This allows for complex strategic gameplay through advantages and disadvantages among exosuits. Players can use exosuits in many different ways. For example, an exosuit with enhanced arms will help them climb up and down walls, while one with enhanced legs will help them jump over high walls and buildings. Like exosuits, firearms can be enhanced or modified using various parts that players can choose. Next up we have Myth of Empires. Taking place in the 3rd century on the Eastern continent, Myth of Empires presents a cruel and brutal era ravaged by the chaos of war. You will need to fight off hunger and brave the elements if you hope to survive. Explore an immersive and expansive world in which you'll collect resources and utilize your creativity and imagination to build your very own empire. Recruit NPCs through peaceful or violent means and turn them into your own followers. The game features a robust combat system. You'll need to cultivate and utilize a deep understanding of the game's different soldier roles, also weapons and siege engines, as well as cooperate with other players in order to claim victory on massive battlefields. Craft the weapons and armor you will use to dominate your enemies. Becoming a mere warrior is not enough to achieve greatness in Myth of Empires. Seek out skilled assistance and work with other players to defeat common enemies and capture their counties and regions. Building and expanding a powerful empire will test your strategic and leadership capabilities. In addition to all the different combat roles a character can take on, there is also a variety of different professions and activities to develop, including planting, forging, cooking, livestock farming, and hunting. Finally, we have America Theft 80s, a new open-world ice game inspired by Grand Theft Auto. It's the 80s, so put on your nostalgia glasses, the description says. From the creators of Thief Simulator comes this new ambitious game. Every house, bank, shop, museum, and much more in the open world can be robbed with the right tools. You just have to know how to do it. You can also steal cars and drive them out into different locations where you'll be stealing different things depending on your decisions. You'll also earn your way up in a county full of corruption and crime while discovering what the residents are hiding. If you see a house, bank or a shop, you can get inside. But learn about the tenants first. You don't want to get caught. Earn cash and reputation in the underground world filled with corruption and crime. Sometimes the only thing you can do is get in the car and drive as fast as possible. But be careful, the cops are not playing around and will chase after you. Make sure to bribe the police to avoid being wanted. You'll also be able to use tools like crowbars, bolt cutters, or lockpicks to help you in your jobs. I can't wait for the official gameplay reveal of this one. Alright guys, that is all for today's video on upcoming games you might not know about. If you'd like to see more videos like these, then make sure you drop a like onto this video, and of course subscribe to stay tuned. Talk to you all soon. Thanks to Space Beer Gaming, Rush Singbati, I Am Legend, Diamond Hunter 45, Themistocles, Rickno23, and Kianzo Fagari for being a master member on the channel. You can become a survivor member for as low as 99 cents a month. It'll help me and the channel as a whole to make more and better videos.